Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wildness and Wellbeing. I'm Tim Jones, also known as Adventure Yeti, and today I'm here with my friend Sam Wragg, who is the founder of Coco Travels and an online content creator. And we met on a hike to Fours Cave. So, hey Sam, how's it going?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm awesome, thanks. I read on your blog that your first holiday was to Crete age 1 and you've had the travel bug ever since, which is very early. I mean, what do you think it is about travelling that you love so much?
Well, I probably actually don't remember that holiday, so it's probably a bit of a stretch to say the travel bug began at that age, but that's when I started traveling. The best thing about traveling, I think, is just meeting new people, having like amazing experiences, making memories, and just getting away from like your ordinary day-to-day life, and just experience something completely different. So when I was very young, obviously, I went on quite a lot of family holidays, and my earliest memories are my mum would be unpacking the cases in the hotel room or apartment, whatever we were staying in, and my dad would take me and my brother, and we would just go and explore, and we'd just see what was there. So we'd often go to the beach and just walk along the beach, or whatever was there, we would go and see. And it was such a different experience for me from getting away from just where I lived, although I have had a really nice home in the Peak District, but getting somewhere different and just seeing different things was what first really got me into travelling.
So how did you come to start Coco Travels?
So I started blogging quite a while ago. So when I finished university, I really wanted to become a journalist. So I was doing lots of work experience, but I finished uni when it was the recession in 2008.
2008. Ironically, that's when I finished uni, so I remember that year very well.
I can't believe I'm that old. Not that you're old as well. But yeah, so it was really hard. I was applying for a lot of jobs, but obviously there wasn't a lot about. So I just kept doing work experience at like local papers and magazines. I would go to London and do work experience. And then I thought, oh, why don't I start a blog? This was like before blogging was quite what it is now. So back in the day, it was more like what I'd done every day. And it wasn't necessarily travel. It was everything that I did, really. And I don't really have any of those old blog posts anymore, thank goodness, because I would just be so cringed out if I read them. But yeah, I just wanted to keep my hand in with writing, really. So that's why I started it. And then it kind of just grew. And then 3 years ago, I decided to take the leap and go full time. Quit my job at the beginning of the pandemic. So, as you can imagine, travel blogger, not being able to travel was kind of difficult. But it worked out really well, actually. So I managed to sort of pivot what I was doing. So I was writing a lot more about local things and how to still get outside and enjoy what you could while we were in lockdown. So I was doing a lot of like virtual traveling. Lots of companies came up with really good ideas for virtual tours and things like that. And then when things started opening up a little bit more, then I was writing a lot about walks and things like that were more local to me.
What's been your top hotspot, would you say, since
Ooh,
travelling all around the world?
Well, my favourite country is Italy. So I've been to Italy quite a few times. I've never had a bad holiday there. Like, obviously the food's amazing, the scenery's great. So I've been to like Rome, Venice. I went to Naples this year, and we did like the Amalfi Coast, which was quite a bit of a dream of mine. So I'd obviously seen pictures of it for years and years, and then to be there was quite an overwhelming moment of just like, wow, I'm finally here. Yeah. And also since the pandemic, I always get that feeling as well whenever I travel. So anytime I go somewhere, there's always a moment where I'm like, I can't believe I'm able to travel again. Like, it feels so good after having that time when you couldn't go anywhere. It like feels amazing every time I'm somewhere. So last time I was in Italy, which was last month actually. So there was a town square, and in the middle of the square there was a marquee, And inside the marquee, there was a lot of Italian men playing what I can only describe as like a really aggressive game of rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, I think I saw this on your Instagram.
Yeah, so it was like a tournament of some sort.
Yeah.
And I just had that moment of like, wow, like I've never seen anything like this before. Like, what is this? But like it just felt amazing, like that I was discovering something that I'd never seen before. Yeah, but apart from Italy, I really love like the Alps. Obviously, the mountains are incredible. And I've been lucky enough, so I went skiing there in January, and then I went back in August. So I got to see like both sides of the Alps, which was really nice as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, the Alps is absolutely. I've done part of the Alps, and it is amazing. I think it's really funny what you say about stopping and thinking and like, oh wow, I can travel now, kind of thing. And I think that's like one thing that the pandemic kind of gave us was kind of that gratitude of being able to stop and actually really appreciate that kind of freedom that we lost for a good couple of years. And I think that's
definitely,
you know, now it just feels like heaven when you go abroad.
Yeah, definitely. And I never would say that I took travel for granted, but I didn't have that overwhelming like, oh, I'm traveling, like it's amazing. Like even I'm like, I'm at the airport, I'm going through security, I'm having breakfast. Like every bit of it now feels like, oh, I'm so lucky that we can do this again. So yeah, it's amazing to be able to. But I also think as well, there's a lot of great places in the UK. So I'm a huge advocate for traveling in the UK, and especially if you don't want to go abroad, you maybe can't afford to, or you don't want to fly, or you're trying to do a bit more like eco-conscious traveling. Like there's loads of places in the UK that are incredible, obviously, like the Lake District, Scotland. So yeah, there's plenty that's just on our doorstep waiting to be discovered.
I think driving up, like you see, like when you drive up to Scotland and stuff, I went via Loch Lomond and did a really nice dip there, and it's just absolutely stunning. It's a completely different world. It doesn't even feel like you're in the UK, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that the first time I went to the Lake District, I was like, it feels like it's not real. It's like so nice to look at. It feels fake almost.
Yeah, so I mean, have there been any times where you think travel and the outdoors has helped you when it's come to your mental health?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been quite lucky in that I've not struggled as much with my mental health as some people have. But there's definitely obviously been ups and downs in my life where I felt that the outdoors has really helped me. And I also suffer from burnout quite a lot. So I'm often traveling like backwards and forwards. So I'll normally do like 2 to 3 trips a month, like short kind of trips. And that's because I've got a home base. So I'm going home and then traveling again a lot of the time. And then so doing that and then trying to stay on top of creating all the content that I need to for the brands that I'm working with is like quite a tricky balance. And it's also like I also want to experience wherever I'm going as well. So I don't want to just be on my phone working all the time. I mean, I probably should be, but I don't want to be on my phone working all the time. I want to be in the moment and seeing things and experiencing that and getting like still an authentic traveler experience rather than it's just my job. So trying to balance all that, I do end up like, oh, I'm really tired. Like, I just don't want to do anything for like the next couple of weeks or whatever. So that's the time when I really like just take myself out on a walk, clear my head, like just get a bit of space away from just my laptop, because I don't think that's healthy either, like sat on your laptop all day every day
and the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, being on your phone all the time is so draining. And I think Instagram as well, which is my main platform, so don't want to say anything too bad about it, but it's such a toxic place. You're very like almost encouraged to be competitive with other people when it comes to like the validation that you get through likes and comments and things like that. So it's nice to just kind of forget about that and remember that that isn't really real life.
I think, that's the thing, isn't it? It isn't real. And I think it's really important. And I mean, I struggle with it quite a lot of the time. Not so much anymore. I've got a lot better. But I think setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
Setting those. Well, you can set times on Instagram, but just being aware of I'm scrolling. Maybe it's time to stop scrolling, and how is this benefiting me?
Yeah, definitely.
I've even started when I'm posting stuff, just trying to analyze what am I doing this for a little bit.
Yeah, and it can be really damaging when you're seeing like people here, there, and everywhere, like having an amazing time traveling. Like sometimes when I'm at home, I'm like, oh, I want to be doing that. Like, oh, why are they getting to do everything and I'm not? Like, and at the end of the day, they're only posting their highlights as well. Like, they're not necessarily doing that all the time, or they're not necessarily having an amazing time all of the time. I try on mine to be like a bit more realistic with, like, so often things will go wrong on my travels quite a lot. If anyone follows me, they'll know. So I'm a bit clumsy. Like, I just get things wrong all the time. I'm not very good at organising stuff. So as I go along, things tend to go wrong. So I do try and like share that as much as I can, just to show it's not all like, oh, I'm staying in this amazing place. So one of my recent travel fails just from this weekend. So we bought a van this year, but we've only stayed in it a couple of times. So I took it out for myself for the first time this weekend. And I realised after 2 days that I'd had the driver's side window down the whole time.
Oh, really?
So the first night I was like, oh, it's really cold in this van. Like,
no.
Why is it so cold? And then I looked, like, the next day I was like, oh, there's some water there. I think it might have a leak. And then I realised, obviously, I'd left the window open. So no wonder it was cold. But yeah, things like that happen to me all the time. And I think it's important to try and show that as well, not just the polished, like, traveling and the Instagram photos where you look amazing. I'm not really that kind of creator anyway that like looks amazing in places, or like wears the gowns or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Being genuine and authentic. And I've started to do that a lot more. It can be hard sometimes because you always want to look your best, but I think being the genuine, authentic you, I think you get a lot more love for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think people really like relate to you because their life's probably exactly the same. I think it's a lot more relatable than seeing someone that's like pristine and polished all the time.
Yeah, totally. Where's next?
So I haven't actually got that much planned for the rest of the year, but things do tend to come in a bit more last minute. But I've just got like a little weekend in Yorkshire, which is a fun trip, not work. So it's like me and a group of friends in a like lovely house. So that'll be nice. It'll just be like walking, cooking meals together, that kind of thing. And then I've got a solo trip to Iceland, which I'm super excited for. So I've never been, but it's been on my bucket list for years and years. And then I've also was doing some work with a company called Guide to Iceland. So I was doing some copywriting for them. For the last 2 years. So obviously I've been writing about Iceland and like how amazing it is, and it sounds absolutely incredible. So yeah, I booked that little solo trip for myself. So
nice.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
How do you find travelling solo?
I love it. I really like it. So I love spending time with myself. And I think it's important that you do kind of try and learn how to do that, because I've learned a few years ago that you can't really rely on every single person in your life, to always be there.
Yeah.
So I really, I went through a breakup and a divorce a few years ago. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so after that, I kind of like just made myself a big priority in my life. Instead of like, relying on someone else to like make you happy. So I started to do a little bit of solo traveling. I've not done like huge trips, but I do like weekends away, weeks away. I tend to like make friends wherever I go.
Yeah.
So
it pushes you a bit, doesn't it?
Yes, it definitely does. And also you can just do what you want when you're there. So like if you're with someone, you kind of are always like feeling a bit like, oh, are we doing like what they want to do, and you're taking their considerations. Whereas if you go by yourself, you can plan the itinerary. If you don't feel like doing something on one day, you don't have to do it. You can be really flexible, and having like those moments with yourself is quite nice as well. Like when you're seeing something amazing and it's like just you and you're seeing that, it's kind of quite a big thing. It like makes you like almost proud of yourself for doing it, if that makes sense. Lots of stuff happens that you're like maybe not expecting or something, but yeah, you kind of tend to learn to be resilient but like flexible with things. I'm really like, now I'm not tied to any of my possessions because I stay in a lot of hostels by myself and things like that, and not that I've never had anything stolen, but I'm always like leaving things places and stuff like that. So you kind of tend to be more like, you're not so focused on material things. You're just more like, oh well, like I left it there but I had a great time while I was doing
totally. I think that's what I've kind of got in my head at the moment, because I've been moving around a lot recently, and I think I've started looking at the future a lot more, and the fact that, oh, actually in 6 months' time I'm probably going to be travelling around the world, and I'm going to be putting all my possessions in a 65-70 litre backpack. So like now when I'm going to buy something, I'm a bit like, do I really need this, or am I going to end up just like selling it or giving it away in 6 months' time? Like my yoga mat, I actually bought a travel yoga mat because I was like, well, I'm going to take my yoga mat with me when I travel around the world, so
definitely.
I might as well get a travel mat now and just use that, and then instead of buying another mat for when I go traveling, kind of thing. So I'm starting to turn a lot more towards that minimalistic side of living, I think.
Yeah, and it starts to make you realize what things are actually important in your life compared to like all the stuff that you actually have. Like what do you actually need to get by, like day to day?
Totally. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Sam.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. How do people find you on social media and check out your blog?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's at coco.travels, or you can find my website at cocotravels.co.uk.